Welcome back to Tuesday Talks with Titus. As always, my name is Titus. I'm your host, and today we are going to be talking about an episode titled Speak Up Part 2. So, in our last episode, we talked about speaking up about mental health. So now we're going to be talking a lot more about the other side of the story. How do we respond to someone who is laying their load down to us? Today's verse is found in Proverbs 18:21, which says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruits." Now, first off, I'm quite sure most of you know not to say stuff like, "Shame on you for not reading the Bible and praying. That's why this is happening." Hopefully, most of you know that that's not the right way to go, because that's not always the reason why people are going through stuff, and we can't guess why. And that's a big focus of today's podcast. But today we are going to explore some other ways that aren't okay, and when the best times are to just listen, which is most of the time, by the way. So let's look at Job. If we look at Job's friend in Job, we see his friends come to be there for him, to comfort him, and to love on him. That's what they did right. But once they started talking, that's when things went downhill very quickly. Not just because they talked did things go downhill, but because what they said made things go downhill. First, one said, "God is punishing you for doing evil." And then the second basically said the same thing. And last but not least, the third says, like all the others, "Stop doing evil and these bad things will stop by the next day." Now, in the beginning, they listened. So at least they did something right. But then they talked. Does this mean we should only listen? As I said in our last talk, sometimes all your friends need is someone to listen. So it's very important that you just be quiet sometimes to listen. If you have advice, make sure it's number 1, not an accusation, number 2, not blunt, and number 3, biblical. Sometimes your friend needs you to tell them that you are there for them and that you will pray for them. And make sure when you say that you're going to pray for them, that you do pray for them, because that's crucial. You can't just make an empty promise. You have to pray for them if you tell them that you will. Back to Job's friends, they messed up by starting to talk. They were saying things that were empty and unbiblical. They said these bad things were happening to you because you weren't following the Lord and you needed to turn away and stop doing evil. But we know that Job was not doing any evil at that time. And so the problem was Job was getting confused by his friends telling him that he was doing evil and that he needed to stop, and then all this bad stuff would stop happening to him. That's an empty promise, and that's a promise they can't for sure know that will happen. Listen, if God's putting you through something, it's not because he hates you. I can guarantee you that right now. If God's putting you through something, he knows why he's doing it. But we won't. We don't. And we can't guess what we think it might be. I don't know how many times you've heard this in your life, but I'm going to tell you it again. Don't play God. It is so important that we don't play God. It's not our place to try to guess why people are going through stuff. It's our place to come beside them, to be there for them, to help them, and to love on them. Remember, that's what Job's friends did right. So we need to make sure when we are talking to our friends and family who are struggling with mental illness or any other problem, we need to make sure we are there for them instead of accusing them of doing wrong. Because that's not okay. That's not what God calls us to do. Again, is it biblical? Is it not blunt? Is it not an accusation? These are important questions to go through our brain when we need to say something to our friend. We need to make sure that before you always have to jump the gun and come up with a response, think about praying about it first and thinking about praying for your friends. It's important that we listen more than we talk. You may not realize that you're putting people down by trying to find a reason why they're going through stuff. I know. It's surprising. Why would you think that talking to people and telling them that, well, maybe this wouldn't happen if it doesn't matter? What matters at the end of the day is that we're listening to our friend, that we're praying for them, and that we're encouraging them to seek help. Especially if it's someone struggling with mental health, and that's what this episode is very, very focused on. If there's someone going through mental health issues, then you need to encourage them to also seek counseling. Okay, this is also important to think about when people are struggling with addictions. It's important that you realize that you are not the one to judge on how people got where they were. You are the one to help them by being there for them, encouraging them when they're going through this stuff. Be ready to listen. I pray that you will take what I said today into consideration, because it's important that we love on our friends who are going through that kind of stuff, because it's messy. It's messy and it's hard to be in, but that's why it's important that we're there for them. If you guys would like to listen to any more podcasts, there are several available as of right now. I'm attempting to get out more as much as I can. If you guys would like to listen to my podcasts, it is available on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, and also Anchor Podcast website, which is usually linked at the bottom of each blog post. So look out for my blog posts. If you'd like to listen to the blog version of this, go to tuesdaytalkswithtitus.wordpress.com. Another way to listen to my podcasts is also to ask your Alexa, play Tuesday Talks with Titus. And we will see you in the next Tuesday Talks with Titus. Thank you. Before you go, please make sure you're sharing my podcasts on Facebook and Instagram. I'm working on getting other social media platforms, but those are the two I have right now. If you would be willing to share, like, and comment on most of my videos and podcasts, it really helps get my name out there. Thank you.